Okay, בשעה טובה. We're going to start פרק ו'. Just as a disclaimer, these few pesukim that will require a little bit of patience to get to the end of the perek, to have a broader understanding of Shlomo HaMelech's advice. As is, you might have a lot of questions because it might sound that it will go against some of the most fundamental concepts that we believe are straightforward when it comes to responsibility of the klal, but we will get there, Be'ezrat Hashem, and B'siata Dishmaya. At the end of the, as the perek goes along, we'll understand how everything fits together. So, okay. Pasuk Aleph. Beni, im aravta lere'echa, my son, if you were a guarantor to your friend, takata, and you gave a handshake, takata lazar kapecha, right? And you give a handshake to a zar, a stranger. We're going to try to do the first three pesukim. Nokashta be'imreficha, you trapped yourself with your words, the words of your mouth. Nilkadta be'imreficha, and again, you snared yourself be'imreficha with words of your mouth. So that's the problem, right? That's the problem. And then afterwards, he's going to go on the solution of the problem. But we have to first identify the problem. So, as we know, Shlomo HaMelech loves to combine different perspectives, right, or different types. So first, we have the re'echa, right? If you are a guarantor to your friend, or if you shake hands with a stranger. You trap yourself with your words and got snared by the words of your mouth, right? Again, so, and we know that Shlomo HaMelech is very accurate with his terminologies and the words that he's using. So the Gaon explains the following. In order to understand the Gaon, there is a concept of mitoch lav ata shomea hen. From a no, you understand a yes. Yeah? So open your mind and try to understand the flip side of what he's saying. That's going to help us understand the Gaon. He says there are two types of guarantors in the Torah. There is what is called the Arev, a regular guarantor, right? Shimon lends Levi money, and Shimon wants an Arev, a guarantor, right? That's called a guarantor. So Reuven signs the loan, right, on behalf for Shimon, and he tells the Levi, right? Levi gives the loan, Shimon receives the loan, and Reuven signs off that he's guaranteeing the loan. That's one type of guarantee. Now, if Shimon doesn't pay, and Levi tries to get his money, but he's not able to get it, what happens? He goes to the guarantor. Reuven has to pay. That's one type. There is another type of guarantor in the Torah. It's called Arev Kablan. Arev Kablan is a guarantor, and maybe Andy, you can help us with that, in the banking industry. It's a guarantor that the day the debt is due, Levi doesn't have to go to Shimon. He can go straight to the guarantor. So the guarantor becomes the address to get the money the moment the debt has matured. It's not coming after the person who lent the money couldn't pay. So it's a much higher level of guarantee and a more secured guarantee. Is there such a concept in the world of business?
Just to understand well, when the debt is due,
let's say you're a bank, yes? You lend money to Shimon.
Yes.
Right? You ask for guarantees.
Yes.
So Shimon brings you Levi. Levi is a solvable guy. He signs that if he doesn't pay, I'm here. Okay, that's regular. Arev Kablan, Levi signs and tells you that I am responsible for the debt. So when the debt matures, you don't go to the guy you lent money to. You go straight to Levi.
Okay, it's called non-recourse debt. Like in mortgages, you get a mortgage. If you cannot pay, you go directly to the asset. You don't come to me.
Non-recourse. Okay, non-recourse.
Non-recourse to the guy who took the mortgage.
No, I don't think that's the same thing.
No, it's not the same. It's similar, sorry. You can give a loan, and sometimes big companies tell you, give a loan, but I'm not paying. You go directly to the other guy. It's a normal type of guarantee.
The recourse is on a third party.
Yeah, the recourse on a third party.
Okay, so these are the two types of guarantors we find in the Torah. So recourse and non-recourse.
It's going to be confusing to say it like that, because recourse just means that you can come after somebody. Non-recourse means you can just only go after the asset.
Correct.
Right.
I think instead of the asset, you can go to another person.
You can go personal. Yeah, it's going to confuse the analogy. I think just leave it with the Gaon, I think.
Okay, sorry.
So we have regular Arev and we have Kablan Arev. Okay, the Kablan.
You're basically skipping over the borrower and going straight to the guarantee.
Correct.
Guarantor. So Andy, the guarantor, what would that be? Because the guarantor is the borrower in a regular scenario, right?
It sounds like a co-borrower. It doesn't even sound like anything else.
Yeah.
Here, really good for borrower.
Well, I think
Dan, it's a little difficult to hear you. Just letting you know.
Yes. I didn't hear what you said.
So Dan is a guarantor. Dan Arev, no?
Arev, yes, right, exactly. No, but there is Arev and Arev.
Okay.
Arev, is a guarantor. Arev is a suite.
Okay.
And then, good. So, Beni im aravta lere'echa. So my son, now back into what he wants to say. Im aravta, if you were a guarantor to your friend, or takata, you gave a handshake, which means that you're now the Arev Kablan. It's a much more engaging responsibility. Lazar to a stranger. It's the other way around. Usually you want to be more of a guarantor to your friend than to a stranger. So first of all, says the Gaon, he says, this pasuk is connected with a pasuk in Perek Yud, Aleph, pasuk Tedvav, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. It's important that you go to Perek Yud Aleph, pasuk Tedvav. Ra yeroa ki arav. The bad of the bad comes to the guarantor because you chose to be a guarantor, zar of a stranger. Vesone tokim boteach, and the one who hates the handshake, boteach, is safe, is protected. Says the Gaon Mivilna, Shlomo HaMelech is telling us a rule of thumb. Don't be a guarantor. Don't be a guarantor. Why? Because if you're a guarantor, it's headaches after headaches. No, it's already a headache to be a guarantor. But not only you're going to have a headache from the as to be a guarantor, but you're going to have headaches with what comes after the guarantee. And he says, is that you put yourself in a situation where you gain nothing but headaches and problems. And that's talking about the regular guarantor. Right? So comes Shlomo HaMelech and says, who asked you to be a big shot and sign for somebody else? וזהו מה שאמר כאן, אם ערבת לרעך, אם היית ערב בעד רעך. Says that's what he means. בני אם ערבת לרעך, if you were ערב, if you were a guarantor בעד רעך for your friend. זה כי לכתחילה בוודאי אין לך להיות ערב. Ideally, you don't want to be a guarantor. And that's the best position. אבל אם נכנסת בערבות, but if you already committed to be a guarantor, so you're in a difficult position. Okay, now there's no solution yet. That he's just addressing the issue. And if you give a handshake to the stranger, and if you put yourself in a position where now you are the address for the payment of the loan directly, right? The Arev Kablan. That's even worse. So says Shlomo HaMelech, says the Gaon, Shlomo HaMelech, who is he talking about? He says Vazdai, that he's not talking about a regular guarantor that is trying to do chesed to someone. Because if that's the case, every love, every person that wants to lend money wants a guarantee, wants a guarantor. And if we have a statement like, don't be a guarantor, then you're not going to have anybody that lends money. And if nobody lends money, then the people that need the money are stuck. So says the Gaon, Shlomo HaMelech is referring to two types of Talmidei Chachamim that are responsible of the tzibur. Ve'ha'inyan. You have two types of leaders that are responsible for the tzibur. You have the teachers that teach Torah, and you have the dayanim that impose the law of the Torah. says the ones that teach Torah is referred by Shlomo HaMelech as the Arev, as the regular guarantor. He says why? Because you're teaching, and by teaching you took a responsibility. And if you teach something that will not be understood properly, or that would lead a student to a mistake, the guarantee is on you. You're responsible. Just like the guarantor, a regular guarantor, right? If the guy doesn't pay, meaning he makes a mistake, it comes to you, right? But if he pays, there's no issue, right? You're off the hook. As long as he does what he's supposed to do, you're okay. The moment, because of you, he does something wrong, the avon comes on your head. So the definition of a Talmid Chacham, of a Rav that teaches, is someone that will teach accurate and proper Torah to make sure in his teaching that what he teaches will not be misunderstood and will not lead to mistakes. So every time he teaches, he has to make sure that what he says is clear and well understood and cannot lead to practical mistakes. That's the regular Arev. The one who shakes the hand says these are the Dayanim, the judges in the Bet Din. And these are in control of the actions. Because when you go to a Bet Din, you impose an action on both, right? If you say, if you're the Dayan and you say that Shimon has to pay Levi, who is responsible for the action? Who is controlling all the story? The Dayan. So the Dayan is the master of the event here. So he becomes the main player in the story, just like the Kablan Arev, that we don't even look anymore at the person who lended the money, who took the money. We only look at the one that's making the calls, calling the shots, which is the Dayan. And if the Dayan says Shimon has to pay Levi, it's as if Shimon, the Dayan took money from Shimon and himself gave it to Levi. That means that if Shimon did not owe the money to Levi, who stole the money from Shimon? The Dayan. So the Dayan has a much greater responsibility that weighs on him to make sure that when he brings judgment, okay, it's extremely accurate and impartial, because the action that comes out of the judgment are considered his actions. Just like the Kablan Arev, the moment the debt matured, it's his debt and he has to pay it. The Dayan, when he gives an action, when he brings a judgment, it's considered like he did it. So going back to what Shlomo HaMelech says in Perek Yud Aleph, Ra Yeroa Ki Arav. There's only bad that can come out if you on a person that is a arev, that is a guarantor. Meaning somebody that teaches Torah only puts himself out for trouble. Because every word he's going to say can backfire on him. He's carrying the mistakes of his students. And he's responsible for the mistakes of his students. So says the Gaon, who asked you to open your mouth? Stay in your corner, stay quiet, learn, and don't teach. So that you stay in full control of your actions and you don't have collateral damages. And the one who hates tokim, the handshakes, who hates dayanim, the dayanut, who hates to be in a position where he has to bring a judgment in a situation, but he's safe. He knows he's okay. So says the Gaon, those two types of leaders in Am Yisrael both carry a heavy responsibility that nobody forced them to carry. And what is worse? And says we go on, what's the difference between Re'echa and the Zar? Right? You are a guarantor to your friend, and you give a handshake to the stranger. It's like usually when you teach Torah to the one that you are close to, that you feel comfortable with. But if you're a Dayan, you don't know who comes to you. And anyone that comes to you has to be considered like a stranger, because you cannot favor anybody. So suddenly, your role as a Dayan becomes very complicated, because you have to look at everyone like a stranger on one end, and on the other, and if they are close to you and they're strangers, are like why should I take a responsibility? If I make a mistake in my judgment, it's like I did the avon. You understand? If in my judgment Shimon has to pay Levi, and and I made a mistake, it's I stole the money from Shimon. At the end of time, it's as if I stole from him.
Are they both telling us that we shouldn't teach?
That's
Are they
exactly
telling
what.
us?
That was my disclaimer. Chazak
Oh.
ubaru. That's why I said what I said earlier. I said it goes against what we know. Lechawa is the opposite. Teach Torah and be, and bring shalom and mediate. And this goes against everything everything we know. That's why I said this is the question that we have to scream out. The answer to that question will come as we learn the perek. It's not going to be an answer that we're going to have right away. But it's a very good question. We have to ask this question. It's obvious, right, that this goes against what we know. The most basic is to teach Torah. You have to teach Torah to your children, to have it.
Theme of the chapter.
So if you put yourself in a situation where you teach or you're a Dayan, that's the translation of the first pasuk, Beni, right? And we know what Beni means, right? Be open to listen to what I'm telling you, just like a son is listening to his father, and as complicated and as difficult it is, you have to trust that what I'm telling you is out of love, just like a father loves his son. That's what Beni means. If you chose to be teaching Torah, if you chose to be a Dayan, and because of that, Pasuk Bet, Nokashta be'imre ficha, you were trapped, you trapped yourself with the words of your mouth. Nilkadta be'imre ficha, you were snared by the words of your mouth. Says the Gaon, Nokashta be'imre ficha, it goes back on the Melavdim Torah, the ones that teach Torah. He says, Nokashta, you got trapped. He says, why are you trapped? Because now, every word you will say and you will teach tie you up. So you trap yourself every time you open your mouth. And you tie yourself with what you teach. So it's like you're tying a net around you. So you be careful with what you say, because you might end up trapping your own self with your own words. Nilkatata be'imre ficha, and that's referring to the Dayanim. You snared yourself by your words. Nilkadeta, the malkodet. What's a malkodet? What? It's like a trap. It's also a different. You snare. It's like what? It's a trap for animals. Yes, the animal goes on the trap and pack, it closes on it or it snaps on it, right? He says this is like it's the same thing is with the Dayanim. He says when you bring a judgment, the action the judgment itself is what snaps. When you teach Torah, you're sewing, right? You're tying a net. One word, one limud, another limud, another limud. But when it's a judgment, when it's a psak din, the psak itself comes and cuts. It's like a crack in a glass, right? You share if the psak halacha is not correct, the psak of the dayanut is not correct, you break it, you break the glass. The action is done. There's accountability. Teach Torah, as long as the guy doesn't make a mistake out because of you, you're okay. You're okay. You don't. You're out of the net. So he says, "Nilkadta ze ben adam lachavero." It's you need an action that creates a reaction. But the mokesh, the trap that is the net, is ben adam lamakom. Who ends up pulling the net? It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you thought wrong, the net closes because HaKadosh Baruch Hu pulls the net, not because of a reaction to your action. Who knows how to wrap you in the net? Right? It's not obvious. There are a lot of thought process and circumstances and variations and reasons why a person might misunderstood what you thought. So it's not clear. Ben Adam lachaveru, Ben Adam lamakom, HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of that. But a judgment, it's emet or sheker. You tainted the judgment, or you were honest. You knew the halacha, or you didn't know the halacha. This is the immediate reaction to your action. So if we stop here, Shema Israel. We close Zoom and everybody goes home. It's huge responsibility. First of all, Shlomo HaMelech introduces how serious and important your Torah has to be, and how accurate you must be when you learn Torah, because the way you learn it is the way you're going to teach it. It's not only about learning, and it's not only about teaching. It's everything that comes with it, the responsibility that comes with it, that a person bears by opening his mouth. This is the hashivut. This is the beauty. This is the importance of the Torah. By default, what it means is that a person that learns Torah, because obviously lilmod ulelamed, we don't learn to learn, we learn to teach, and to pass on the legacy of what we receive. You cannot allow yourself to learn wrong, and you cannot allow yourself to learn from someone that doesn't know how to learn, because it's essentially the moment you become the link that passes on the Dvar Hashem, you are fully responsible. And if Khalila it breaks, you broke it. So that gives a perspective to how focused, how serious, attentive one must be when he learns Torah. And so when a person needs to teach or teaches Torah, which is very, very, very different than what we know today. Today, Torah is like just a grab and go, and whatever you can, it's good. Anything you can take, just take. It's good. It feels good. It's nice. It's a little bit of light, yes. But in a light of emet, if you pick up something that's not accurate, you're fully responsible, not only to who you taught, but who the person taught after that. For that reason, we have to be essentially very careful when we learn. So that's the issue. That's the problem that Shlomo HaMelech puts on the table, right? So what's the answer to that? We have some time? Or I leave you with the problem? Yeah. Answer to the problem? Okay. So, Pasuk Gimel. Ase zot efo. Do this to get yourself out of this situation. Ve'inatzel kibata bekaf re'echa, and save yourself for because you came bekaf re'echa, in the palm of your friend. Lech itrapes. We have to understand what the word hitrapes means. Go and here's a grovel. And appease, right? And satisfy re'echa, your friend. Now we know that. Okay. The Gaon says, Shlomo HaMelech says like, what can I do now? Now you're stuck in this situation. We have to deal with what we have. Yeah. If you have lemons, make lemonade. like they say. כיוון שנכנסת בצרה הזאת, listen to the words of the Gaon. כיוון שנכנסת בצרה הזאת, because you entered this problem, אין לך רק לעשות זאת, there's no other options. All you have, this is what, that's all you have to do now. And he says, when you see in the Torah, the word Epho, in the Tanakh, you see the word Epho, it means there's no other way. That's all you have to do. This is the only outcome. Like we see that also. That's Yitzchak when he tells Esav, what can I do? This is a situation when Esav comes and says, Ma, you don't have another beracha. He said, what can I do? This is what I already gave it the beracha. That's like there's no other choice. We have to accept the situation the way it is. That's what he means. Aseh zot efo beni. Ve'inatzel kivata v'kaf re'echa. We know the kaf re'echa, the palm of your friend, is what? Referring to the dayan, right? Lech itrapez. So what's the solution? Lech itrapez urehav re'echa. Lech itrapez, he says the Gaon comes from two words. Hater pas. Hater pas yadecha. It's a Gemara in Masechet Yuma. The Gemara in Pezayin, the Gemara says there that if you angered your friend, you have to go and appease him and calm him down. And if there is a monetary dispute, hater pas yadcha, open the palm of your hand and pay what needs to be paid. Buy the peace. Pay for peace. That's hitrapes. Urahav, and that's referring to the Dayan, meaning Shlomo HaMelech is saying, if you're a Dayan and there's an issue in your judgment, and you cause monetary damages to someone that according to the halacha, this is wrong, don't try to go and reverse the judgment. You're responsible. Now you, the judge, have to go and pay that person that you took money away from. Because until you don't solve the money issue, it's your problem. You stole from him.
Who's to enforce that?
Huh?
Who's to enforce that?
Nobody's to enforce. This is the etzah. It's an etzah that Shlomo HaMelech tells you. If you want to save yourself from your own trap, right? From your own snare, this is what needs to be done. Urehav re'echa, says Shlomo HaMelech, that goes back to the Melavdei Torah. He says, bring them a lot of friends. If you upset someone, make sure you bring them a lot of friends to appease him and to change his mind. So he says, if you're a Dayan and there's a practical collateral damage, you're responsible. Go and handle it yourself. And if you're a Melamed, make sure that when you teach Torah, you bring a lot of friends. What does it mean, bring a lot of friends? Make sure you say things in many different ways, in that way, in this way, and with this mashal and that mashal, until there's clarity and no doubt or misunderstanding, so that when you build your students, they become themselves Talmidei Chachamim. And they have so much information that you've given them in what you taught them, that they stand on their 2 feet, and now they can go on and teach properly. So enrich your students, to empower them to have enough knowledge when you teach them, so that they can stand on their 2 feet and teach themselves and learn on their own. So good. So asezot efobeni. This, if you're stuck and this is what you have to do, and you have that's going back to, we said, to the Malamidim, the one that teach Torah. They're stuck. They have to keep on teaching. What also they've already taught. So what's the answer? Rehav re'echa. Enrich your students, empowers your students, makes them Talmidei Chachamim of their own, make them be able to learn Torah on their own, make them, enable them to think the way you think, so that they know how to get to the answer. Not just convey information, transfer of information, the whole process behind it. And this is how you protect yourself from them making a mistake. So essentially, if you are teaching Torah, double down in investing in your Talmidim. And if you're a Dayan, enter the judgment as if you are responsible for the practical outcome of your judgment. And put your money where your mouth is. For that reason, says the Gaon, we should have asked the question. Why? Because what does Shlomo says? Shlomo HaMelech says, you came in the palm of your friend, right? But the Tkiat Kaf is not with the friend in the pasuk that we learned before. Is with the stranger. We say, right? The pasuk Aleph says, "Beni im aravta lereacha." If you're a guarantor to your friend, and if you give a handshake, and you give a handshake to the zar, to the stranger. Here, Shlomo HaMelech, there's no more zar. Look at the pasuk. Kibata bekaf re'echa. You came in the palm of your friend. Lech itrapesu re'av re'echa. There's no more zar. Everybody became a friend. No, what happened to the stranger? Says the Gaon, the Dayan takes the place of the stranger. He becomes now the friend of the other person. He becomes the main actor. There's no more stranger. It's him that's responsible now. He's the main actor. So, kibata bekavrecha, when you shook hand, when you brought a judgment, the person that are in front of you are no longer strangers. They become your friends. You're connected to them. You're responsible for them. You're an extension of them. What is the Gaon teaching us? That there are 2 levels of responsibility a person must honor, respect, and cherish. One level of responsibility is in building and teaching in a way that your students, your children, whomever you're teaching, become independent and strong in their way of learning. Make sure that when you teach something that's complete, that stands on its 2 feet, and that has a foundation, and that can be understood properly, and internalized, and passed on. That's the responsibility of Limud Torah. Another responsibility, says Shlomo HaMelech, is that if you're involved in din, in mediation, in a judgment, your approach has to be the approach of a person that is the person that will end up paying. You are the person who's paying. You're the Arev Kablan. The money at the end, when you sign as an Arev Kablan, you paying for that debt at the end of the day. In your balance sheet, there's a line that said Arev Kablan, that amount that was lent to Shimon, I'm paying it. I'm responsible. Put your money where your mouth is. Have a level of responsibility and accountability that's at the level of the engagement of the advice you're giving. Says Shlomo HaMelech, this is the best advice I can give you when you step foot in becoming a leader. These are 2 fundamental pillars a leader must have strong. The leadership of teaching and making sure it's crystal clear, properly delivered, well understood, empower with the tools to understand the people that you're teaching. And number 2, be fully responsible for the actions that you expect from others, and be ready to pay the price if it backfires. These are the Rashi Bnei Israel. These are the leaders of Am Israel. 2 fundamental traits we must nurture and develop. And that's as a parent, that's as a head of a company, that's in any aspect of your life where you want to play the role of a leader, you need those 2 pillars well anchored and well consolidated in yourself. Pasuk Dalet is also connected to what we're learning, but it's a practical effort of what you need to do in order to consolidate those pillars. But it's a nice piece that I don't want to rush. So believe that we're going to learn it in next show tomorrow, Be'ezrat Hashem. So we finished Pasuk Gimel. Any questions?
Clear.
If we thought the Judaism was difficult, now it's now it goes to another level.
Yes, definitely.
Wow. Oh, Hashem.
So, Rabbi, going back to the wait, hold on, do you
We are here.
do you hear me well done? Okay.
Yeah.
So going back to the regular shot of the pasuk, which said, "Don't be a guarantor."
Yes.
Do we not even address that concept and say that this is only...
Chachamim, so Rashi wants to say that Rashi says, Beni im aravta arevut mamon kemashmao pirshu rabotenu. Chachamim address this pasuk kipshuto mamash. So in the Kitvei Yad of the Gaon, in the Perek Yud Aleph, says something very nice. He says, when you the lender, when he lends money, he makes sure that the guy is solvable, that you can repay the debt as much as he can, and the LTV is as low as he can, the loan to value, right? Because he tries to keep his exposure as low as possible. So it's very calculated. So the lender is very safe in his approach. The guarantor is a majnun, is a dib, is an idiot. Because he takes on a full responsibility without none of those parameters. So says the Gaon, like you have to really be out of your mind, okay, to sign guarantees that will fall on you, that you have zero benefit from. Like you don't benefit nothing as a guarantor. You didn't benefit from that money, and all you have is those headaches, right? So you have a double problem. We will see that in Perek Yud Aleph, Be'ezrat Hashem bimkomo.
Yeah. Okay, so he is. So according to both opinions, being the guarantor is still a bad idea, no matter what.
Correct.
Dan, don't sign any PGs.
No.
Exactly.
This is a class for MBA. This is. Amazing. Okay.
Be'ezrat Hashem. But again, it's yes. Okay, we'll talk about Perek Yud Aleph. I'm sure nobody's going to forget that show about guarantee. When we'll get to it, B'Sha'ah Tova, there's more depth to it. But on the other hand, you cannot be soger the alva'a mitzad alove, right?
What does
There's
soger
also
mean?
a concept. What
does soger mean?
You cannot close the doors to debt in the Torah also, right? That's why the prusbul is a prusbul, because if there was no, when Shemitah comes, right, we lend money. Why did Chachamim decide that we have a shtar prusbul, like a contract that overrules the cancellation of all debts when the Shemitah comes?
Is that
Because
Shemitah or Yovel?
Huh?
Is that the Shemitah year or
Yes.
the Yovel year?
Yes. Shemitah, the Yovel, it's the same thing. It's during now. On Shemitah, it happens. If it's on the Yovel, we're good, right? If you have every Shemitah, we sign a prusbul. Prusbul is what? Is that you basically hand over all your assets to the Bedin, so they're not yours, right? All the debts that you're owed, you give it to the Bedin, and the Bedin has the power to go and collect it. And that's how you protect your debt. If not, imagine every 7 years comes, all the money that you owed is wiped. So, and Chachamim say, why did they make prusbul? Because if not, nobody's going to lend money anymore. And it's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to lend money, but the person wants to know that he has some guarantees, right? So you cannot wipe out the definition of a guarantor. But if there is no reason to be a guarantor, why should you be?
It's better to be the lender.
Definitely.
Mitzvah
deoraita to lend money.
Yeah, you have the lower LTV, you have the protection, you have the asset, and you don't have the headache.
Correct.
Like the guarantor.
Correct.
We'll have a separate show about Rebbe though, right?
Okay, that's a different story. Tov.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Rabbi.
Amen.
Beautiful day. Thank you.
בהצלחה. כל טוב.